What's up guys, Saf here on SuperSaf TV, and it's here, we've got it in the house, the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra in the Phantom Black. Of course guys, of course. We're not gonna waste any time, let's go ahead, get this unboxed and see what it has to offer. So we do have the new thin style box, although it's actually thinner compared to the S21 Ultra box last year. And inside the box, as well as the device, you do get a SIM card tool, some paperwork, a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable, and that's it. And unless you've been sleeping for the past 2 years, you'll know that Samsung no longer includes chargers in the box. This is something that you're gonna have to buy separately. Let's now get to the S22 Ultra. And here it is. This is the Phantom Black, which looks so good. But it's also available in a Phantom White, a green, as well as a burgundy. Now there are some exclusive colors available from Samsung Direct. So we've got a graphite, a sky blue, as well as a red. All of those look really nice. Those you can only get from Samsung.com. And you can also get $50 worth of credit if you use my affiliate link down in the description. Shameless plug. But the first thing you'll note is that the design is quite different to what we had on the S21 Ultra. So although the black color is pretty similar, the design of the cameras is completely different. The S21 Ultra, actually one of my favorite looking devices of 2021, has this camera module which kind of curves and blends into the edges, which I really like. The S22 Ultra has these individual rings for each of the cameras, so there is no longer this camera module design. I'm still not sure how I feel about this. I think it looks okay. We have seen something similar in the way of the LG Velvet previously. But the other notable thing is that the S22 Ultra does have much more squared edges compared to the curved edges of the S21 Ultra. Now, if you haven't already figured it out, this is because the S22 Ultra is pretty much a Note device. The Note has now been merged into the S line. A lot of people are saying, is this RIP to the Note? Well, technically no, unless you consider that the Note died and then has been resurrected with a new name. But let's be real here, this is out and out a Note device, but with a new name now. So the Ultra series is now gonna be the Note series, which personally speaking, I'm absolutely fine with. Now this also means that the S22 Ultra has an S Pen, and this is included and enclosed within the device itself. So we did have S Pen support on the S21 Ultra last year. However, this was not included. You'd have to buy that separately. And because there was nowhere to house the S Pen, you'd have to get a case or something with it, which personally for me didn't really sell it. But now this is enclosed within the device. We've got a new design. It's got a similar matte finish like we've got on the back of the S22 Ultra. And all of the S Pens, regardless of which color you go for, have this same black color, apart from the tip at the top. Now the S Pen has also been improved. We've got 2.8 milliseconds of latency, which is really low. Previous S Pens had latency of around 9 milliseconds, so this is significantly improved. And of course, there's a bunch of new features, including handwriting recognition support for up to 88 languages, which is 12 more than we had previously. And also collaboration view, which will allow you to sync the S Pen with the Tab S8, for example. Now, I'm somebody who uses the S Pen a lot, so I'm glad that it's here. But continuing on to the build, we do have an Armor aluminium frame, and then we've got Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the front and back. Now this is around 12.5% stronger compared to Gorilla Glass Victus. And we still have IP68 water and dust resistance, which is impressive considering that we also have an S Pen. Let's now flip this over and take a look at the display. So the first thing you'll notice, okay, sorry, I'll stop that. The first thing you'll notice is that we do have a curved display. So it does curve over on the edges like we had on the Note 20 Ultra. Now I know this has mixed opinions. I kind of like the look of it, but I gotta say I do now prefer flatter displays just for practicality. But that side, the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra has an absolutely beautiful display. This is one of the, if not the best display out on the market right now. 6.8 inches across, small bezels, an Infinity O punch out, Quad HD Plus resolution, dynamic AMOLED 2X technology, and a super smooth 120 Hz refresh rate. Now this is an adaptive refresh rate, so it can go all the way down to just 1 Hz. So if you've got static content like this, that will mean that it's only refreshing 1 times a second, and that's going to be great for efficiency and battery life. And we've got a peak brightness of 1750 nits. That makes this one of the brightest smartphone displays out there. Samsung makes excellent displays, as you know, and they've really not held back here on the S22 Ultra. We also have an in-display ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. Now this is the same as what we had on the S21 Ultra, which is the Gen 2 Qualcomm 3D sonic sensor. Not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I definitely prefer ultrasonic fingerprint sensors because optical fingerprint sensors really do shine a bright light, especially if you are in a dark environment, you do notice it. And let's now talk about the cameras. Hey, just wanted to remind you, I got this, okay. Fine. SuperSaf was just gonna remind me to let you know that the SuperSaf style camera comparison is in the works. We're gonna compare this to the iPhone 13 Pro Max very, very soon. So if you haven't already, then maybe consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you don't miss it as soon as it's out. So we have a 40 megapixel front-facing camera. And although the rear-facing camera setup is quite similar to what we had last year, so we have a 12 megapixel ultra-wide, a 108 megapixel primary camera with two 10 megapixel telephoto cameras, one with 3 times optical zoom and the other with 10 times periscope zoom, as well as a laser autofocus sensor. We do have some improvements for the cameras. So the primary camera does have 1.23 times larger pixels compared to the S21 Ultra. We also have a 2 times faster NPU, which is going to be able to process everything quicker. And there's new adaptive pixel technology, which allows the camera to capture a 108 megapixel and a 12 megapixel image at the same time, which allows for more detail and a brighter image. Now this should really help with low light photography and videography. There's an improved portrait mode, which uses an AI stereo depth map, which should be able to even pick up hair. Now, I've only briefly tested this and it does look quite promising, even for video. Again, I'm going to be putting this up against the competition. I can't wait to do that. We've got Pro mode as well as Expert RAW mode, which will be able to capture 16-bit RAW files. And there's also improvements for video with some new features. One of those is auto frames per second. Now, this is going to determine the light in the scene and change the frame rate based on that. I mean, personally speaking, I'm not too keen on this. I like to stick to a consistent frame rate. The correct frame rate, which is 24 frames a second. Marquez also agrees with me.
Hi, what's up? MKBHD here.
And 24 FPS is the correct frame rate.
That video has totally not been edited by any means. Marquez, please don't sue me. And another feature that Samsung's been talking a lot about is auto framing. So this is where it can track up to 10 subjects from 5 meters away, and it can follow you around. So it's kind of using the larger sensor and kind of cropping in to 1080 to do that. Personally speaking, I can't really see myself using these features too much, but I'm more interested in the RAW cameras, which we'll be definitely doing lots of coverage of. Right, now let's talk about the performance. So as we've had in previous years, the S22 Ultra is gonna have different processors depending on your region. Certain regions will have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 and other regions will have the Samsung Exynos 2200. I'm here in the UK, which means I've got the Exynos 2200. Now, generally speaking, I expect performance to be great on either, but I will be trying to import in the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 version so I can do some comparisons with real world usage and I can share my experience in the upcoming review, so stay tuned for that. For software, we do have Android 12 with One UI 4.1 on top. One UI is one of my favorite skins on Android. It allows for great one-handed usage, it's smooth, and Samsung has also been great with updates recently. The S22 Ultra also has support for Wi-Fi 6E as well as ultra-wideband technology, and we have stereo speakers, so there's one in the earpiece and one bottom firing. Now for the battery, so the S22 Ultra has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which is the same size as what we had on the S21 Ultra. Now, traditionally, Note devices have a slightly smaller battery because you need space for the S Pen. With the S22 Ultra, even though there is the S Pen enclosed, they still managed to get a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in here, which is really impressive. I'm going to be doing lots of tests, but based on my usage with the S21 Ultra, I would expect this to have good battery life. And for charging, so we do have 15 watts of wireless charging. This hasn't really been improved for quite some time. There's lots of other devices that can charge faster than 15 watts. You've also got reverse wireless charging, power share, so you'll be able to charge things like earbuds on the back of the S22 Ultra. And for wide charging, this can support up to 45-watt wide charging, which is faster compared to what we had on the S21 Ultra. Not as fast as some of the other competition, however. Now, a 45-watt charger will be able to top up the S22 Ultra to 50% in around 20 minutes, which is pretty good. However, this is sold separately, so if you do want to get it, you are going to have to buy it unless you've already got one. Finally, let's talk about storage, RAM, and price. So the S22 Ultra does come in 4 storage versions: 128, 256, 512, as well as a massive 1 terabyte option. I mean, that's just a lot of storage, but you don't have expandable storage. So if you're familiar with the S21 series, you'll know that they no longer have a micro SD card slot, and that is the same case here with the S22 series. And for RAM, the S22 Ultra starts at 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is lower compared to what the S21 Ultra started at. Now, to make up for this, Samsung has a new software feature called RAM Plus, which will use some virtual memory from your storage to act as RAM for some more intensive tasks. How will that be? We'll find out. And pricing. So the base model does start at the same price as the S21 Ultra did last year with that lower RAM, and it goes all the way up to $1,600 or £1,500 for the 1 terabyte version. Now, Samsung does currently have some pretty good pre-order deals on the S22 Ultra. So for example, in the US, you'll be able to get the 256 gigabyte version for the same price as the 128 gigabyte version. And if you use my affiliate link down in the description, then that will give you an additional $50 of credit. So with all of those deals, this does seem to be priced pretty competitively, at least for now. If you pre-order right now, this will be coming into your hands around the 25th of February. So that is the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. What do you guys think of it? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Also, let me know what other coverage you'd like me to do with this. In terms of my opinions, I'm a little bit biased because I have always been a Note fan. I do like the S Pen, but this does look very, very promising, and I think it does tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people. As mentioned, there's going to be lots more comparisons and coverage, SuperSaf style, with the S22 Ultra. If you don't want to miss any of it, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do smash that like button for me. If you want to see some related videos, maybe you're interested in the S22 and the S22 Plus, that video will be linked here, and future comparisons will be linked here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.